Anguttara Nikaya 3.73. Mahānāma the Sakyan, thus have I heard. At one time the Blessed One was dwelling among the Sakyans at Kapilavatthu in the Banyan Grove Monastery. At that time, the Blessed One had recently recovered from an illness. Then, Mahānāma the Sakyan approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, and sat down to one side. Sitting there, he said to the Blessed One, open quote, "For a long time, Bhante, I have understood the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One in this way. Knowledge arises for one who is concentrated, not for one who is unconcentrated. But Bhante, does concentration come first and knowledge afterward? Or does knowledge come first and concentration afterward?" Close quote. Then the Venerable Ananda thought, open quote, "The Blessed One has only recently recovered from illness, and this Mahānāma the Sakyan is asking a very profound question. Suppose I were to take Mahānāma aside and explain the Dhamma to him." Close quote. So Venerable Ananda took Mahānāma by the arm, led him aside, and said, open quote, "Mahānāma, the Blessed One has spoken of the virtue of a trainee, Sekha, and also the virtue of one beyond training, Asaka. He has spoken of the concentration of a trainee and the concentration of one beyond training. He has spoken of the wisdom of a trainee and the wisdom of one beyond training." Close quote. What is the virtue of a trainee? Here, Mahānāma, a bhikkhu, is virtuous. He dwells restrained by the restraint of the Patimokkha, possessed of good conduct and proper resort. Seeing danger in even the slightest faults, he undertakes and trains in the training rules. This is called the virtue of a trainee. What is the concentration of a trainee? Here, Mahānāma, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a bhikkhu enters and dwells in the first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, the fourth jhana. This is called the concentration of a trainee. What is the wisdom of a trainee? Here, Mahānāma, a bhikkhu understands as it really is. Open quote, "This is suffering." Close quote. He understands as it really is. Open quote, "This is the origin of suffering." Close quote. He understands as it really is. Open quote, "This is the cessation of suffering." Close quote. He understands as it really is. Open quote, "This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering." Close quote. This is called the wisdom of a trainee. What is one beyond training? That noble disciple, Mahānāma, who is endowed with such virtue, such concentration, and such wisdom, realizes for himself with direct knowledge in this very life the taintless liberation of mind and liberation by wisdom through the destruction of the taints, and dwells having entered upon it. Thus, Mahānāma, the Blessed One, has spoken of the virtue of a trainee and the virtue of one beyond training, the concentration of a trainee and the concentration of one beyond training, the wisdom of a trainee and the wisdom of one beyond training. A key point in this sutta is that Ananda does not answer the question as a simple sequence of first concentration, then wisdom, or first wisdom, then concentration. Instead, he reframes the issue by showing that on the path there are training-level virtue, concentration, and wisdom, sekha, which mature together and culminate in the untrained, asekha state of arahantship. The emphasis is not on a rigid chronological order, but on the development and fulfillment of the three trainings until liberation is realized. Why Ananda doesn't answer Mahānāma's question? Mahānāma asks a question that many practitioners still ask today. Open quote, "The Buddha teaches that knowledge belongs to one who is concentrated, not to one who is unconcentrated. So which comes first? Concentration and then wisdom, or wisdom and then concentration?" At first glance, this seems like a reasonable question. But hidden inside the question is an assumption. Mahānāma assumes the path works like a chain. Either concentration, wisdom, or wisdom, concentration. In other words, one must be the cause and the other the effect. One must come first, one must come second. Yet Ananda never answers the question this way. Instead, he redirects the discussion toward trainee virtue, trainee concentration, trainee wisdom. Why? Because the assumption behind the question does not accurately describe how the path functions. The tree is a better model than a chain. Imagine a tree. If someone asked, open quote, "Which comes first, the roots or the leaves?" Close quote, the question would be difficult to answer. Certainly the roots support the leaves, but the leaves also feed the roots. The roots nourish the trunk supports the branches The branches support the leaves. The leaves create nourishment that strengthens the roots. Everything contributes to everything else. The tree grows as an integrated living system. The path functions in a similar way. Virtue, concentration, and wisdom grow together. Virtue supports concentration. A mind free from remorse settles more easily. Concentration supports wisdom. A stable mind sees more clearly. Wisdom supports virtue. Seeing the consequences of actions makes restraint easier. Virtue supports wisdom. Ethical conduct reduces confusion and distortion. Each strengthens the others. The path is not a sequence of disconnected achievements. It is a living structure whose parts develop together. Why Ananda introduces the trainee Mahānāma asks about concentration and wisdom. Ananda responds by describing the trainee, Sakkha. The trainee possesses trainee virtue, trainee concentration, trainee wisdom. This is significant. If concentration had to be completed before wisdom could begin, there could be no trainee wisdom. If wisdom had to be completed before concentration could begin, there could be no trainee concentration. Yet Ananda speaks of both. This suggests that both are already operating and maturing before liberation. The issue is not which one starts. The issue is how the entire structure develops. Our AN 830 makes this even clearer. The Mahānāmasakkasutta describes 8 conditions: few desires, contentment, seclusion, effort, mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, non-proliferation. These can easily be mistaken for steps, but they function more like parts of a tree. Few desires support contentment. Contentment supports seclusion. Seclusion supports concentration. Concentration supports wisdom. Then wisdom deepens few desires. Seeing the drawbacks of craving weakens craving. That strengthens contentment, which strengthens seclusion, which strengthens concentration, which deepens wisdom. The factors continually reinforce one another. The architecture is not a straight line. It is an interconnected system. The real question, Mahānāma asks, open quote, which comes first, close quote. Ananda effectively answers, open quote, you are looking at the wrong relationship, close quote. The important question is not, open quote, which factor is first, close quote. The important question is, open quote, are the necessary conditions being cultivated and allowed to mature together? Close quote. When roots, trunk, branches, and leaves all receive proper conditions, the tree grows. Likewise, when virtue, concentration, and wisdom are cultivated together, the path matures. What Ananda is really teaching: the path is not built by completing one factor and then moving on to the next. It is more like tending a tree. Strengthen the roots and the leaves benefit. Strengthen the leaves and the roots benefit. Strengthen the whole system and growth occurs naturally. Thus, Ananda does not answer, open quote, concentration first, close quote, nor, open quote, wisdom first, close quote. Instead, he points to the integrated development of virtue, concentration, and wisdom. The path is not fundamentally a sequence. It is an ecosystem. And liberation is the full maturation of that ecosystem.